The fog rolled in thicker than usual that morning, blanketing the sleepy town of Marrow Creek in a curtain of pale gray. It crawled along the roads like living smoke, soaking into the cracked walls of old houses, muting every sound until even the birds stopped singing. Most folks in Marrow Creek knew better than to leave their homes before the sun burned through the mist. But 11-year-old Caleb Wren had always been a curious boy. He tugged on his hoodie, he clutching the rusted handlebars of his bike as he coasted slowly down the gravel road that led behind the old chapel. His mother had warned him not to go near Fog Hollow, especially on mornings like this. She used words like too dangerous and not a place for kids, but never gave real reasons. That made it worse. Adults always thought silence made things safer. Caleb believed the opposite. The road dipped gently downward. Here, the fog clung to the earth like a veil, and the tall pine trees along the hollow stood like frozen sentinels. Caleb's tires crunched quietly over damp leaves. He felt his breath in his chest, each inhale slightly faster than the last. He told himself he wasn't afraid, that he was just exploring. Then he heard the sound. A thud, then another. And then, a soft cough. He stopped pedaling, letting his bike coast to a halt. He waited, ears straining in the silence. The fog seemed to hold its breath too. There it was again, closer now. A gentle cough, then the unmistakable sound of bare feet slapping wet earth. Caleb turned his head slowly. Someone was walking out of the trees. No, someone was falling. She dropped from the fog like a rag doll tossed from the sky. One moment there was nothing, and the next a girl, no older than Caleb, collapsed onto the muddy trail just a few feet ahead. She landed hard, limbs splayed awkwardly. Caleb froze, unsure if he'd just seen a ghost or a person. The girl lay still. Then she stirred. Caleb kicked his bike aside and rushed over. Hey, are you okay?" She coughed again and rolled onto her side. Her skin was pale like snow, her hair soaked and tangled with bits of pine needles. She wore a strange blue dress, old-fashioned like something from an old photo, and her feet were bare and raw from running. Her eyes fluttered open, bright green, wide, terrified. "Who are you?" Caleb asked, kneeling beside her. She blinked, lips trembling. Then she whispered something barely audible. I don't know." Caleb stared. "What do you mean you don't know?" The girl looked around, then began to cry, not loudly, but in short, shaking gasps. She pulled her arms around herself and whispered again, "I don't know my name. I don't know where I came from." And then over their heads the fog swirled. It coiled back through the trees as though it had finished its task, as though it had delivered something. Caleb helped the girl sit up, his heart hammering in his chest. He glanced around, half expecting someone else to emerge from the mist. A parent, maybe, or a pursuer. But the woods were empty again. Just trees, shadows, and the slow retreat of fog like waves pulling back into the sea. "You don't remember anything?" he asked. The girl shook her head, wiping her tears with trembling fingers. "I just woke up here. It was dark, but I don't know where I was before." "Do you live around here?" Caleb tried, though he already knew the answer. I don't think so." Her voice cracked. "Everything feels wrong. I feel like I'm not supposed to be here." Caleb hesitated. He knew he should go get help, tell his mom, find a cop, something. But something about the girl felt fragile, like she'd break if he left her alone. "Okay," he said. "Okay, come on. Let's get you out of the woods." She stood with his help, wobbling like a newborn deer. Her dress clung to her knees, damp and stained with mud. Her skin was cold to the touch, but she walked slowly beside him as he led her back toward the bike path. "I'm Caleb, by the way," he offered. "Caleb Wren." She glanced at him. "Caleb," she repeated softly, like she was testing the sound of it. "That's a nice name." "What should I call you?" he asked. She paused. I don't know. I keep hearing something, like a whisper in my head. Maybe it's Mara?" Caleb nodded. "Okay, Mara, that works." They reached the edge of the woods where the path widened. The fog had lifted a little, and Caleb felt the warmth of the sun trying to break through. He could see the steeple of the old chapel ahead and beyond that, the road that led into town. "We can go to my house," Caleb said. "My mom's a nurse. She'll help you." Mara didn't answer. She had stopped walking. Her face had gone pale again, eyes locked on something just beyond the trees. Caleb followed her gaze and froze. There, half hidden in the thicket, stood a man, or at least the shape of one. He was too tall, his frame stretched and gaunt, like someone had pulled him longer than humanly possible. He wore dark clothes, old and torn, and Caleb's stomach twisted. His face was wrapped in what looked like wet cloth, like a bandage soaked in ash and mold, with no features visible beneath. But the thing stood still, facing them. "Mara," Caleb whispered, stepping in front of her. "Don't look, just walk. Slowly." But Mara was rooted to the spot. "He's the one from the dream," she whispered. "He was behind the door." The man raised a hand. The air turned cold again, colder than the fog had ever been. Caleb felt it in his teeth like a bite. The trees seemed to pull back, and a deep sound, like wind through bones, rose from the forest floor. Then the man stepped back into the trees and vanished. Caleb grabbed Mara's hand. "Run!" They didn't stop until they burst out of the woods, panting and shaking, their shoes slick with mud and leaves. Caleb's house was just up the road. He yanked open the side gate and led her through the yard, up the porch steps, and into the kitchen. "Mom," he yelled. "Mom, you gotta come now." His mother, still in her scrubs from the night shift, appeared in the hallway with a tired frown that turned into alarm as she saw Mara. "Oh my God. Caleb? Who?" "She was in the woods," he panted. "She doesn't know who she is. And there was a man watching us. Mom, something's wrong." Mara stood silently in the doorway, hair clinging to her cheeks, arms wrapped tight around herself. Caleb's mom approached gently. "Sweetheart, are you hurt? Can I take a look?" Mara nodded. They sat her down on the couch. Caleb stood nearby, too wired to sit still. His mom cleaned Mara's scrapes and wrapped a blanket around her, her expression growing more serious with every passing minute. "I'm calling the sheriff," she finally said. "We need to file a missing persons report." "No," Mara said suddenly, eyes wide. "Please, don't." Caleb's mom hesitated. "Why not?" "I don't know. I feel like if they find me, I'll disappear again." Silence fell. Then something outside made them all jump. A loud knock, 3 sharp raps at the front door. Caleb turned toward the hallway. Then the doorknob began to turn slowly, but never opened. The knocking resumed, louder now. 3 raps. A pause. Then 3 more. Caleb's mom walked to the door, peering through the peephole. "No one's there," she murmured, but she trailed off. There, on the porch, was something laid across the welcome mat. A doll, worn, dirty, with button eyes and a sewn mouth. Its arms were twisted behind its back, and on its chest, stitched in rough black thread, was one word, "Mara." Mara recoiled when she saw the doll. She shrank into the couch, eyes wide with horror, as if someone had just ripped open a memory she didn't want. Her breath quickened, her body trembled, and for a moment, she looked like she might scream. But no sound came. Caleb stood frozen near the window, watching his mother slowly open the door. The doll lay still, the word Mara glaring up from its chest like a warning. It smelled faintly of mildew and rot, as if it had been buried underground. Caleb's mom didn't touch it. She stepped back, locked the door again, and grabbed her phone. "That's it. I'm calling the sheriff." Mara sprang to her feet. "No, you can't. They won't help. They'll make it worse." "What do you mean?" Caleb asked, but Mara shook her head violently. "I don't know how I know, but I know. If you tell them, he finds me faster. And when he finds me, he takes me back." "Back where?" Caleb's mother asked. "I don't know," she whispered. "But I've been there before. I escaped, barely. And if I go back, I won't come out again." A long silence filled the room. Even the ticking clock on the wall seemed to quiet itself. Then, as if on cue, the lights in the kitchen flickered. A gust of wind slammed into the house, rattling the windows, though the trees outside barely swayed. The power surged, then died. The house was plunged into gray silence. And then came the sound from outside. A high-pitched whine, like the scraping of metal across bone. It started far off, then grew louder, closer, until it felt like it was inside the walls. Mara covered her ears and screamed. Caleb backed away from the window as shadows thickened in the hallway. The front door creaked. Not open, not yet. Just pressure. Testing. Caleb's mom grabbed the emergency flashlight from under the sink and flicked it on. The narrow beam cut through the dark, landing first on Mara's pale face, then swinging to the door. She backed up, hand gripping the phone. "I'm calling someone," she whispered. "I have to." "No police," Mara pleaded again. "There's someone else, someone who might know what this is." Caleb's mom stared at her. "Who?" "There's a woman, in the hills. People call her the Lantern Widow." Caleb blinked. "That old story? The woman with the covered face and the bell?" "She's real," Mara said. I saw her in my dream. She was standing in the dark, holding a lantern made of bone, and she told me to run before the fifth bell. That's all she said, but I think she's the only one who can help. That's just a legend, Caleb's mom said. She's a story parents used to scare kids into staying close to the house. No, Mara said. She's real. She knows what's hunting me. The door rattled again, harder this time. Caleb turned toward the back of the house. Something was scratching at the back windows now. We can't stay here, he said. If this is really happening, we can't wait for help. I'll drive, his mom said. I'm not just going to sit here while this thing is circling the house. With Mara huddled in the back seat, Caleb and his mother raced through the winding roads outside town. The woods grew thicker the farther they drove, until they left the pavement behind and followed a dirt trail carved into the hills. There was no GPS signal here, no phone reception, just thick trees, ancient air, and the winding call of wind through the pines. Where are we even going? Caleb asked. I don't know, his mom said. You know more than I do. But Mara was staring out the window, her hand pressed to the glass. I think I remember the way. Remember? Caleb asked. You said you didn't remember anything. Not with my head, Mara whispered, but my bones remember. They drove another mile before the trees thinned just enough to reveal a clearing. In the center stood an old stone structure, no bigger than a single room. Moss coated its walls. The roof was sagging in places. Wind chimes made of teeth and shards of glass dangled from the eaves, clinking softly in the breeze. And there, sitting on a crooked wooden stool, was a figure in black. A woman wrapped in thick, tattered shawls. A wide-brimmed hat shadowed her face, and a long gray veil hung from its rim, covering every feature but her mouth. In one hand, she held a lantern made of twisted bone and sinew. It glowed faintly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Is that her? Caleb's mom whispered. Yes, Mara said, already opening the car door. That's her. The three of them stepped out, the grass crunching under their shoes. The lantern widow didn't move, didn't speak until they were 10 feet away. Then, in a voice dry as leaves, she said, You brought her back. Mara froze. The lantern widow tilted her head slightly. The girl who fled between bells, the girl who slipped the binding, you should not have returned. I didn't mean to, Mara said. I don't even remember leaving. Because the memory was taken, the widow said, as payment. You were not supposed to remember the path out, and now you've brought it with you. What is it? Caleb asked. The thing chasing her. The widow's mouth twitched behind the veil. The hollow man. Mara shivered. He wears bandages. No, the widow said. He wears your past. The bandages are made of memory, pain, guilt, names forgotten, lives erased. He hunts those who escape his grasp, and if you see him, truly see him, part of you never leaves. Caleb stepped forward. Can you help her? I can delay him, the widow said. But the hollow man is patient. He has waited centuries for the ones who flee the veil. Then what do we do? Caleb's mom asked. The lantern widow reached into her cloak and pulled out something small and sharp. A bell. It was made of glass, and inside it swirled a black fog that never settled. Take this, she said, handing it to Mara. When you hear the fifth bell toll, you must ring it once, and only once, any more, and he will know where you are. Then what happens? Caleb asked. The widow rose slowly, her bones cracking like branches. Then the path opens. To where? The widow turned toward the trees. To where you came from. She stepped back into the shadows, her lantern swinging beside her, fading until the light was swallowed by the mist. Caleb looked at Mara, who now held the bell in both hands, her knuckles white. A sound rose behind them. A bell, faint, distant. Then another, two. They turned toward the woods. A third, then a fourth. The final bell was coming. The fifth bell echoed through the trees like a knife dragged across ice. Its sound was sharper than the others, impossibly loud yet somehow hollow, as if it came from inside their skulls instead of the air. Birds scattered from the treetops, the grass bowed low. Even the wind seemed to recoil. Mara's hand shook as she raised the glass bell. Now? She asked, voice no louder than a breath. Now, Caleb whispered. She rang it. Once. The tone was delicate, almost beautiful. It shimmered in the air like frost under moonlight. The black mist inside the glass swirled violently, then vanished. And then, the woods changed. They didn't shift or melt or morph. They simply weren't the same. The trees were taller now, thinner, like spindles of bone wrapped in bark. The sky had no stars, only a deep red hue, like the last light before the sun gives up. In the distance, a long, low horn echoed. No bell this time, just something ancient, groaning beneath the weight of the world. The car behind them was gone. So was the road. So was the Lantern Widow's hut. Only the three of them remained, Mara, Caleb, and his mother, standing at the edge of a narrow trail made of pale stones that pulsed faintly underfoot. Caleb turned slowly in place. What is this place? Mara looked pale. I think it's the in-between. Not the world we left. Not his world yet either. Caleb's mother stared down the trail. Then we keep moving before he finds us. They started walking. The forest didn't sound alive. There were no insects, no rustle of animals, only the sound of their own breath and the steady crunch of footfalls. Every few steps, they passed trees that bled black sap, or strange birds that hung upside down from the branches, sleeping with their eyes wide open. And then they saw the house. It rose from the ground like it had always been there. Timber blackened by fire, windows shattered, the front door hanging slightly ajar. It was the house from Mara's dreams. Mara stopped cold. That's where he keeps them. Who? Caleb asked. The others, she said. The ones he caught. The ones who didn't make it out. Caleb's mother placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we're not leaving without them. Mara shook her head. You don't understand. You don't just walk in and grab them. The Hollow Man doesn't trap you with chains. He traps you with regret. Caleb frowned. What does that mean? It means the moment you walk in, you'll see it. What you regret most, what you do anything to change, and he'll offer it to you. He'll let you have it if you stay. They stood there in silence. Then Caleb stepped forward. I'm going in. Caleb? His mom started, but he was already moving. Mara followed, and with a final look back, Caleb's mother entered last. The door creaked as it opened. Inside, the house was far larger than it appeared from the outside. Hallways stretched impossibly long. Doors lined the walls like mouths waiting to open. The air was heavy, soaked in old sorrow. And then came the voices, soft at first, familiar. Mara. She turned, and there they were, a man and woman, sitting on the old couch in the center room. The man had her eyes, the woman her smile. Mara whispered. We missed you, sweetheart, the woman said. You were just a little girl when you disappeared. Come here. Let us hold you again. Mara took a step forward. No, Caleb said, grabbing her hand. That's not them. You said they were gone. I don't remember, she said, but I want to. I need to. The man held out a photo. It showed Mara as a toddler between the two adults, laughing, happy. The air around her shimmered. Caleb stepped in front of her. Mara, listen to me. This is what it wants. It's showing you what you want most. The light flickered, and the figures on the couch melted into ash. Mara collapsed to her knees, sobbing. From the far hallway, Caleb's mother screamed. He ran. He found her in the bedroom, staring at something on the wall. Photos. Hundreds of them. Each one of Caleb, at every age. First steps, first day of school, smiling, laughing. All the memories she'd lost when her husband took Caleb in the custody battle and fled. All the years she'd missed. He stood beside her, stunned. You never told me. I didn't want you to know how much it hurt, she whispered. But he's showing me everything I lost and what I could get back. The air behind them shimmered. And there stood the Hollow Man. His body was tall, impossibly thin, wrapped in countless layers of white bandages. Only his eyes showed, 2 dark holes that leaked shadow. And from his hand dangled a chain attached to 3 bells, one for each of them. His voice was like silk cut with razors. Stay, and you can have it all again. The family, the memories, no pain, no loss. Caleb turned, stepping between the Hollow Man and his mother. No. The Hollow Man tilted his head. You don't choose. Not here. But Caleb was already raising the bell the widow had given them. He rang it. Once. The Hollow Man screamed. It wasn't a sound that came from a throat. It came from every wall, every floorboard, every memory in the room. The bandages around his body unraveled, one by one, peeling away until there was nothing underneath. Just a black shape, empty, silent. The air shattered like glass. Caleb opened his eyes. They were back in the woods. The road was behind them. The car, the Lantern Widow's hut, all of it, just as it had been. Except Mara was gone. Caleb spun around. Where's Mara? The Lantern Widow emerged from the trees. She stayed, she said softly. She gave up her chance to leave so the others could go. Others? Caleb's mother asked. The widow pointed. In the clearing stood 5 other children, each blinking, dazed, as if waking from a long sleep. She freed them, the widow said. Her bell let them through, but there was only enough light for one soul. She gave hers away. Caleb stared at the spot where Mara had stood. A faint bell tone hung in the air and then faded. Only silence remained. In the days that followed, Caleb barely spoke. They brought the 5 children, now orphans of time and memory, back to town. None of them remembered where they came from. Their names, their homes, even their languages were fractured. Authorities from 3 counties got involved, and yet no missing persons reports matched. It was as if the Hollow Man had stolen them, not just from their families, but from the very record of the world. Caleb's mother took 2 of the children in, while the others were sent to nearby foster homes. She barely left Caleb's side. Every time she looked at him, there was gratitude and guilt in her eyes. Thankful for her son, haunted by the memory of the offer she'd almost accepted. But Caleb wasn't the same. At night, he sat on the roof and watched the tree line, waiting, listening. Sometimes he'd think he heard the bell again, soft, distant, like a heartbeat lost in the wind. Sometimes he saw movement deep in the forest. A flicker of silver, a sliver of shadow. But when he'd rush out to check, the woods were always quiet. Empty, almost. One night, a month after it all ended, Caleb found something on his windowsill. A small black stone bell. Its handle was carved with a symbol, a spiral wrapped in thorns. When he rang it only once, he didn't hear sound. He heard her, Mara's voice, whispering, faint but real. Don't forget me. That night, Caleb packed a small bag, flashlight, map, compass, matches, and the bell. He told his mom he was going for a walk. She watched him with narrowed eyes, then hugged him long and hard without a word. And then he disappeared into the trees. The path was still there, faint but walkable, as if the woods had remembered the shape of the in-between. He followed it deep into the heart of the forest, past the widow's hut, past the place where the air still felt thin with old sorrow. There, where the mist pooled like spilled milk, he found the edge of it, the place between. He rang the bell again, once, and stepped through. The world folded inward, colors bleeding like ink in water, trees twisted, sky dimmed. The Hollow Man was gone, but the space he'd occupied still hung in the air like a scar, a wound in the fabric of reality. And in that scar, Caleb saw her. Mara, standing alone in the shadow of the blackened house. She turned. Her eyes widened. You came back? He nodded. You shouldn't have, she said. There's nothing left. I'm only memory now, echo. Caleb stepped forward. Then I'll stay with the echoes. She smiled. It was sad, but real. Come on then, she said, holding out her hand. I'll show you how to ring it right this time. The bell in his hand warmed, and as they walked together toward the house once more, neither afraid, the red sky above them began to fade into dawn.